A priest friend of mine told me that a while back he did a funeral for a woman who was born with clenched hands. Her hands had been clenched from birth, and she had to adjust to living that way her whole life. She developed some skills, so she lived reasonably well. She was able to be a mother, she was able to work, but it was always hard with clenched hands. Eventually, in her elder years, she wound up getting ill and then going to hospice, and her kids were amazed that on her deathbed, as she was getting ready to go home to God, just before the moment, her hands released. And it brought those kids so much peace to know that their mom was relaxed and open when she met God. That is a way for us to picture what Jesus is saying in the gospel. You have to go through life, he says, with open hands. You have to go through life like this because then you'll be ready to take whatever I want you to have. If there's something I have for you, I'll have a place to put it. And if I need something from you, you'll be in the position to give it. You have to go through life like that, he says. Open, ready to receive, and ready not to hold back if I need something from you. My great aunt, my grandmother's little sister, was a nun, and everyone in my family thinks of her as the most open and accepting person we ever knew. She really went through life like that. I think that's why she handled the vow of obedience so much better than I do. She was really, really good. She didn't mind following orders or directions. Wherever they wanted her to go, she would go. And I remember my grandmother would sometimes be a little upset about it. She would say, they moved her again. Now she's in Yonkers. Now she's in Newburgh. Or one time we would go to visit her and she was doing some kind of work that was assigned to her. And my grandmother didn't like it. That's too much for her. She shouldn't be doing that. But my aunt didn't see it that way. She was wide open. Obedience was no problem for her. When I was in college, she started to get Alzheimer's disease. And I don't know if you've ever seen this before in certain people who have that disease, but she didn't fight it at all. Some people, really fight it and try to cover it up for a long time. She just accepted it, and it came fast because of that, like a fog right into her life. And there was an irony to that. As she went through the progression of that disease, her hands started to curl. Her fingers started to clench. And it was a very painful thing to see for us in our family because it was the opposite of how she really was. She was open like this, and her hands were starting to go like this. And my grandmother would always, when we would be visiting her, try to straighten her hands. And the hospice nurse said, "Oh, ma'am, please don't do that. You could hurt her. It's okay that she's doing that. Just put your hand on her hand and tell her that you're here." I think Alzheimer's disease is probably one of the most potent ways I've ever seen life give us for letting go. It's an amazingly hard disease, and it's in my family in a pretty dominant way, and I know a lot of you have dealt with that or are dealing with that as well. It's so hard because you have to let go of everything. And if you have a loved one with it, you start by letting go of remembering the right word for this, remembering the name of that person, that friend. You start losing the stories that you were known for telling. You start losing your sense of humor. Eventually, you start losing a lot of your personality traits. And then you lose understanding how things work. And if you live long enough with it, you even stop recognizing the faces of the people you love most. When you look at it that way, it's just such a wild amount of letting go. But of course, we hope that we won't have that disease. But whether we do or not, we know that all of us are being asked to do an even greater kind of letting go. We all have to leave here someday. We have to leave it all behind. We have to go from the place, the only home we've ever known, and go into a future that we believe in, that we have faith in, but that we can't understand. It's not possible for us this side of heaven to understand what it'll be like. So much of our life is about practicing for that and for anything that will come between where we are right now and that, which could be many, many things. Now that I've reached midlife officially and entered my 50s, I would be able to tell you from my early aging vantage point that aging is probably one of the best built-in ways for us to practice this. And those of you who are where I am or further along would probably agree. I know a lot of you are in that journey right now. And the journey is something like this. You're in your 4-bedroom house in Queensbury or South Glens Falls or wherever it is, and you start scratching your head and saying, my kids moved out 20 years ago. My bedroom's on the 2nd floor and I don't do stairs well. This lawn is 2 acres and I have to mow it every week. And you start saying, am I supposed to leave this stage of life? Is this over for me now? And of course, many people know that it is, and they move maybe to a condominium somewhere. And then they say, I probably would feel better being in a place with just a little more service to it. So maybe it's an independent senior living place. And I find it fascinating to go and visit people who are on this journey. Sometimes somebody will say, Father, come over for dinner. And I'll go to dinner at their independent senior living place. And it's beautiful, very nice. But they're working through stuff because when you come through the front door of their 1-bedroom apartment, there's a dining table for 20 right there at the door. And a giant hutch that they have to sneak around to get into the kitchen. They're working through the letting go. They're working through. That table no longer works for them. But it didn't quite feel ready to give it up yet. So they're working on that. But life keeps going forward. Suddenly, the independent living place isn't working anymore like it did. And so it's time for assisted living. And then maybe for 24-hour care in a more contained place. And Jesus is saying, you have to calculate the cost of that. You have to calculate the cost ahead of time. All of us are praying, I hope we live a long life. Very few people say, I hope I die young. Most of us say, I hope I live a long, long time. So Jesus says, you have to calculate that then. Calculate the cost of that. Know that that is going to involve a lot of letting go along the way. And you have to know that. You have to prepare for that. Many of you have experienced a shift in midlife, if you're at that stage or beyond. I know that I'm experiencing the beginning of it. It starts with no longer enjoying shopping trips as much as you used to. Some of you know what I mean by that. There comes a point in life where you say, you know what? There's actually nothing at TJ Maxx that I want. I love it. I can tell it's a nice store. And we find ourselves saying things like, the old me would have bought 2 of these and put 1 in the garage so that I have it for later or for a gift or to give away. And then you reach a point where you say, you know what? I don't want more stuff. Instead of acquiring, we start to feel things like, and maybe you'll relate to this, I can't stand thinking about the basement. It's so packed full. I wish I could clean out some of the stuff in the basement. Oh, the attic. Oh, what a fire trap. I wish the attic could be cleaned out. That's a developmental stage, I think. That's life telling us, it's time. We're practicing. We're practicing the letting go that's necessary because we hope to live into our golden years. So we're going to have to practice the letting go. If we start feeling that shift from the need to have to the need not to have, it's okay to embrace it. There's never a wrong time for that. And over the course of the past little while, I've heard two different ways that people are going about this, and I'll share them, and maybe one of them will be right for you if this is the stage that you're in. The first one is the idea of when you look at your basement and you're like, "Oh, I just wish somebody would haul all this away, but what if I need something that's down there?" The recommendation is this: take the stuff that you're pretty sure you don't need, but you're nervous, put it in a box, put a date on it. Don't label the box. Don't say what's in there. Just put the date on it. And if you have not clawed open that box to find the salad spinner that you now realize you could not live without, if a year goes by and the date is more than a year ago, give the box away without opening it. You can trade this with a friend too. A friend can do it for you and you can do it for them. Please make sure, if I haven't opened this in a year, that you take this somewhere, because that's not for me anymore. There's another one that's maybe even more practical. Someone recently said that every time they get a box from Amazon or something else they bought online, they've made it their practice to take whatever's in it out and then to fill the box with things they're going to donate and ship it out. So whatever comes into the house, fine, that's what I needed. But now that same box is going to take some other things out of the house. It's interesting that a lot of us are learning lessons from these stages of letting go that we could learn no other way. And for those of you who have had a loved one with Alzheimer's, you know a little bit about this. It's a way to purify our love for the people in our lives when they stop being able to do the things for us we always loved. I remember hearing a husband one time say that when he would celebrate an anniversary with his wife, or when he would say, "I love you" to her, he would often say, "I love you for no reason. I love you for no reason." And she would say, "Why do you say that?" And he said, "It's really important to me that you know that your hair can be gray or brown or any other color. You can earn a ton of money for the household or none. You can gain weight and lose weight. You can do whatever it is. I'm still going to love you. I love you for no reason." And nothing teaches us that like loving someone with something like Alzheimer's. Because when they can no longer make our favorite meals or take us out to dinner, when they no longer remember the things that we shared with them, they can no longer tell the stories that made us laugh, they can't even recognize our faces anymore, we still love them. And we realize, oh, I love you for no reason. I love you no matter what. I'm still going to care about you and love you even if you don't recognize me. And that kind of openness is what Jesus is asking us to have toward life. Can we be so open that we love life simply because it comes from God? Simply because it's good? We don't need life to do anything for us. We just live life like this, wide open, with our fists unclenched, so that whatever life gives us, we can make peace with. And then, if we're like this, whenever Jesus says, "Follow me," we'll be ready.